Good evening. I was scheduled tonight to come and speak to you about the operations of the Department of Waterworks for the last year, including construction projects completed or ongoing, our plans for the future, department statistics, etc. However, after a recent article that appeared in the Times-Picayune concerning the water quality in St. Charles, I feel it is critical that I provide clarity on the accuracy of this report. The goal of St. Charles Parish government is to always work toward improving the quality of life for our residents. One of the ways we do this is providing safe, drinkable water. I would like it to be clear that St. Charles Parish's drinking water is in full compliance with all state and federal water quality standards, is safe to drink, and has been recognized by local, state, and regional authorities as being one of the best tasting on a consistent basis. Our record of accomplishment with regulatory compliance has been impeccable throughout my tenure with the department, and that compliance started decades prior to my career with the Waterworks, as evidenced by St. Charles Water District No. 2 being awarded with the first ever EPA Operational Excellence Award in the country. It has been and will continue to be our goal to meet, or where possible, exceed all water quality standards in order to protect the health and welfare of the residents of the parish. St. Charles Parish Waterworks is repeatedly cited as an example on how to do it right by our regional and state Department of Health regulators. As you should be aware, I have been working hand in hand with the Department of Health's state health officer, their chief engineer, and others with the department for the last several years to develop new water standards for Louisiana. As part of this 19-member committee, we have been working on regulations that will hopefully bring all water systems in the state up to a level of consistent compliance. These new regulations will become effective this coming January. I am also part of the Southwest section of the American Waterworks Association's Water Utility Council. As part of the Utility Council, I have been promoting the agenda of the American Waterworks Association at the regional and federal level to improve the water quality of water systems nationwide. A nonprofit group of self-proclaimed environmental activists whose intent seems to be to create mistrust and fear of public drinking water supplies is responsible for the creation of the report cited in the Times-Picayune article. This organization's website is a compilation of self-imposed standards that reinforces their claim that most water systems are failing. However, to them the answer is not bottled water, which they are equally critical of due to its leaching unacceptable levels of cancer-causing agents from the plastic bottles. Their answer is to use a point-of-use filter, which surprisingly you can buy straight from their site. Although the EPA reports that more than 90% of the country's drinking water systems meet the federal health-based drinking water standards, this group would have you believe that the vast majority is unfit for consumption. They suggest the exact opposite of EPA, suggesting that most systems provide unsafe drinking water. The health guidelines they claimed are not being met do not represent the consensus of the mainstream scientific and health communities. To develop their guidelines, they look at the maximum contaminant level goals set by the EPA, developed through its scientific review. When they believe that these goals are not strong enough, they look to California public health goals, both of which are non-regulated guidelines used as a bearing or direction that community of drinking water professionals should be heading with research and development toward detection of specific contaminants and treatment technologies to remove them. By their own admission, this organization creates its own standards when it does not agree with the accepted scientific standards. Many of their proposed health guidelines are currently below a level which the analytical equipment that is available is even capable of detecting. EPA's recommended human health-based criteria is the basis for the current regulations and is commonly referred to as the 1 in a million rule. Acceptable exposure is defined as being one additional occurrence of cancer in 1 million people with an exposure of a 154-pound adult drinking 2 liters of water daily for over 70 years. That's a 54-pound adult drinking 2 liters of water every day for more than 70 years, resulting in 1 additional case of cancer per 1 million people. The Environmental Protection Agency created maximum contaminant levels, or an enforceable allowed level of, in this case, disinfection byproducts, using this human health-based criteria. These byproducts represent the bulk of the items listed in the report as being detected in St. Charles's water. The rule was enacted because water that is disinfected, meaning a chemical is added to the water to kill all pathogenic organisms, will develop byproducts of the reaction between the disinfection chemical and any organic or inorganic compounds present in the raw water. Disinfection is the process to kill harmful organisms that are present. Without proper disinfection, the presence of harmful bacteria, cyst, or virus could lead to bacteriological contamination and would absolutely be an immediate risk to life and health, as well as a violation of the Safe Drinking Water Act. The Centers for Disease Control has called chlorination one of the 10 greatest public health achievements of the 20th century. They state that American drinking water supplies are among the safest in the world. The disinfection of water has played a critical role in improving drinking water quality in the United States. The occurrence of diseases such as cholera and typhoid dropped dramatically, virtually disappearing from the landscape. In 1900, the occurrence of typhoid fever in the United States was approximately 100 cases per 100,000 people. By 1920, it had decreased to 33.8 cases per 100,000 people. In 2006, it had decreased to 0.1 cases per 100,000 people, only 353 cases, with approximately 75% occurring among international travelers, all as a direct result of water disinfection. The implementation of drinking water disinfection and treatment, improving the quality of source water, and the improvements in sanitation and hygiene have had a dramatic effect on the quality of our water and is one of the greatest public health achievements of the 20th century. I would like to stress again that our first goal has to always comply with recognized state and federal regulations that are designed and have proven to be critical in protecting human life. Although the story attempts to rank the area's systems, the criteria utilized is so narrow as it applies to the numerous regulations and operational challenges faced by treatment professionals that it simply ignores compliance and operational history of the systems. The history that is much more meaningful measure of the quality of the system and the water it produces and delivers. The balancing act that we perform every day involves adding sufficient levels of disinfectant to ensure the microbial quality of the water while minimizing levels of any disinfection byproducts created. The longer the disinfectant remains in the system and the higher the residual, the more the disinfection byproducts are created. But the greater degree of protection the water has from bacteriological contamination. One treatment additive that we tried in order to comply with these regulations was chlorine dioxide, which we began feeding in 2002. It was used to minimize the formation of certain disinfection byproduct, but it too has a disinfection byproduct that the report referenced as being detected between 2010 and 2015. Earlier this year, we have ceased feeding chlorine dioxide, which we found to be less effective at lowering disinfection byproducts than a microcarbon solution we recently pilot tested with the permission of the Department of Health. This new product that we are just now starting to feed in full production has shown very promising results in lowering and/or eliminating the precursors to the byproducts as well as the byproducts themselves. In the pilot test, we saw a reduction of greater than 15% for a group of these disinfection byproducts. As we constantly do, look at our current conditions and analyze what we need to do in order to stay in compliance or otherwise improve water quality. This analysis of our treatment and distribution systems is a vital ongoing function of running a successful water treatment system. As I said before, the goal of our department is to always provide safe drinkable water for our residents, and that is what we will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.